Hey there, true believers. You're tuned into Baxter Building Radio via the Negative Zone feed, and welcome to episode 17 of the Fantastic Four Fancast. I'm your host, Nate Charles, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host. His name is Shane Murray. How you doing tonight, pal?
Doing all right. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing pretty well. Had a pretty fun and productive weekend, honestly.
What'd you do over the weekend?
I managed to get out to the LCS on Saturday and pick up a couple books, including Marvel All-in-One. Did you happen to get a chance to check that out yet?
No, because I won't get to the shop till next month sometime.
Well, when you do, check out Marvel All-in-One. I believe it's set between the current volume of Fantastic Four issue 2 and 3, and it'll be right up your alley. It is a whole issue of Ben Grimm versus the Marvel Universe.
That's hilarious.
Oh, it was a very, very fun tale. Not going to spoil it for you since you weren't able to check it out, but we should talk about it once you do get a chance to.
The unfortunate part of, you know, being so far away from the LCS is I only get there once a month at best.
I feel like you make it there a little more often than that.
No, it's literally once a month.
And that's why you end up having, 3-inch
Oh,
stacks of books in
oh,
various
dude,
binders
that's
and areas of your
uh,
house.
yeah, I have so many books. I haven't even got to read through this whole weekend, so like it's there. It's just big piles everywhere.
Eventually, someday you'll be caught up.
One of the weeks of October, I took off like a whole week just because the kids are at school and Aaron's at school, and I was like, I can have a whole week where I can do whatever I want during the day while they're all gone.
Nice. Maybe I should take off a day and we can record a bunch of episodes.
So I'm hoping to use that time to catch up on like the backlog of video games that need to finish and the backlog of comic books that need finish.
Well, what games are in that queue?
Dude, so many. Donkey Kong, Final Fantasy X, which is just a replay through, but I like I'm so close to finishing that. Bane Chaos. My God. Monster Hunter Stories. Maybe finish Baldur's Gate 3 finally.
I would like to
Yeah,
play that at some point. I still haven't.
I have legitimately an ungodly amount of games that are like 7/8 done.
Nice. You just don't want the experience to end.
No, it's just I don't get back to them because I start playing something else. Because I'm like, well, I don't have the time to finish this. Because like, especially with RPGs, usually it's like, all right, you need to sit down and you have to have 2 solid hours till that whole like story and videos and all the other stuff is done. And I just don't have that time to dedicate in the day. This is a time. This and D&D is the only time I have like slotted to dedicate to anything that's like not just being dad.
Yeah, and you got to put up with me in both of those activities.
So
So props to you.
just saying, like, it's rough out here.
Right. Then Sunday I went over to Harrisburg Comic Con. That was a pretty good time as well. Uh, they had Tom Nauk there, who did the cover art for X-Men 97, among other things.
I totally forgot that was going on this weekend.
Yeah, wasn't a bad show. Uh, I managed to pick up some stuff to fill in my Captain America Volume 1 collection. Uh, and something that I'm really excited about was I told you about the 616 day enamel pins, right? That I
Yep.
started getting out in California. I finally found my last one. I finally got the thing pin. So
Nice.
now I can go deck out my vest that I like to wear with my enamel pins on it and have the entirety of the Fantastic Four and Galactus on there. So that was its
Sounds
own
fun.
reward. Yeah. And also now I'm just working on getting some shows ready for next year to help put on some conventions and work on the cosplay competitions and whatnot. So I'll end up having more information on those once we get a little bit closer. Hype up any listeners we may have in the area to visit those events. What about you? What'd you get into this weekend?
Um, I spent 9 hours Saturday cleaning, like just cleaning random stuff around the outside of the house, emptying out the yard cart, cleaning out the yard cart, digging out the fire pit, clean the whole shed. You can now walk around my one shed, which is really nice. Finally got to be able to put the one ladder away that usually just hangs out outside all year. I was like, oh, look, I finally can put the ladder away. Then spent more time just cleaning up stuff in the garage. Yeah, so basically just cleaned all weekend.
That sounds awesome.
That's my
That's
plan
something I
for
should have done this weekend, quite frankly.
that's my plan for Saturday morning before we next week before we have the little LARP event. Is maybe pressure wash the house. It's either pressure wash the house or start cleaning out the other shed. I get bored, so I have nothing better to do. Then once all that's done for outside, I can start moving in here and deciding what I'm boxing up so I can maybe eventually start building shelves next year.
Well, let me know. I'll come over and help you do that.
I have so many ideas and not enough time.
Well, speaking of things that required tons of cleanup in their aftermath, how do you feel about talking about this week's issue?
Sure.
All right. Well, this week, Shane, we are going to be deep diving into Fantastic Four Volume 1, Number 6, cover dated for September of 1962, but released on June 12th of 1962 with a cover price of 12 cents. You ready to play the prices right?
Are we playing the graded copy or the ungraded copy first?
We'll be playing the graded copy first, so if you're ready, you can go ahead and come on down.
Um, Graded copy. I'm gonna go with $1,200.
This is the graded at 9.8 via price charting. $46,121.74.
Absolutely diabolical.
Would you care to make a guess at the ungraded value?
Um, $945.
Ooh, you went over, pal. $379.24. Still worth a pretty penny.
Yeah, I suppose people's car payment.
So the creative team on this book, we had Stan Lee as writer, editor, and of course, editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics at the time. Pencils by Jack Kirby with inks by both Dick Ayers and Joe Sinnott. The colorist was Stan Goldberg. The letterer was Terry Zenix. Would you like to hear a synopsis for today's book, Shane?
Oh, sure.
That's too bad because today we're going to require a Shaneopsis.
We're gonna require a Shaneopsis.
We sure are, pal. It's your time to shine.
Oh boy. Um, I think there's a synopsis right there on the cover, though. Realistically,
You're not wrong.
I mean, we're gonna use that as the Shaneopsis, maybe. Um, Instead of you reading this box, I'll read this box, and you can read the rest of it when we get there, and then we'll start talking about it. And Shaneopsis is going to be that the diabolical duo of Doom and Namor have joined forces against the Fantastic Four. What shall happen? Who shall win? The world may never know. Or you can finish this issue.
So, despite the fact that you told me you were going to read that box, I
I
guess I'll
did
go
read.
ahead and read it. Thank you for the Shaneopsis that I asked for, which I thought was very good. Um,
I got there and I was like, that's not it. That doesn't sound like
it's
something
too
ridiculous.
concise. It's too concise. Like,
That's what I'm here for.
so I'll read that in a moment. You want to go ahead and take us through the cover, Shane?
Yeah. So we have this nice red top of the border there. with the Fantastic Four in yellow, going back to like the earlier books in the series where there was the red and yellow all the time. Um, Doom and Namor on one side, the Fantastic Four on the left side, and they are Doom's yelling at Reed and Reed's yelling at Doom, and Namor is doing weird Namor stuff with a weird punch arm motion he's got going on. He
Oh, it
really
looks
looks
like
like
he's
he's
floating
holding,
in mid. It looks like he's floating in midair and getting ready to
and
engage in a fist fight with Reed.
and it also looks kind of like he's holding onto Doom's cape at the same time with his right hand. I'm really confused at that motion that's going on there.
Nah, he's just got his hand drawn back. He's in the foreground from Doom, so he's not actually grabbing Doom.
But yeah, you have the Fantastic Four using all of their powers. You got Reed stretching, you got Sue half invisible, and you got Johnny going to attack Doom and getting absolutely blasted in the face. Cool cover. It looks like it's over top of the city, so it's a really nice like view down of the skyline.
And Doom is, it looks like he's blasting the ground, which is actually a rooftop. I'm assuming it's the rooftop of the Baxter building, out from under Ben's feet. Ben has remarkable balance considering he's literally standing on debris that is in the air.
Ah, he's nimble, don't you know?
And we have the caption directly under the Fantastic Four logo that you were originally going to read and then decided not to. Have the Fantastic Four at last met their match when the mighty Submariner and evil Doctor Doom team up? Don't miss the diabolical duo join forces. And Doom yells, "The time has come, Submariner. Destroy the Fantastic Four." And Reed retorts with, "No matter what powers you both have, we shall defeat you. The Fantastic Four swear it." Very dramatic.
Oh, super dramatic.
So we open up this book and we are greeted with our title, The Fantastic Four in Captives of the Deadly Duo. Now, this is actually really interesting because when we look up there next to this title, we have by Stan Lee and Jay Kirby. And when we were going through our credits earlier, I had said about Joe Sinnott being one of the inkers on this book, but you don't actually see him get credited. You know who does make sure that he gets credited? Dick Ayers. Because if you look in the lower right-hand corner of this panel, right underneath the big circle that says Part 1, you can see Mr. Ayers had the wherewithal to put his name within the windows of a Manhattan skyscraper
Well, he was thinking outside the box.
by putting his name in the box.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do we see in our opening panel here, Shane?
We see Johnny flying around the rooftops, um, just cruising the city. Looks like not really attacking anything, just flaming on for the purpose of flaming on and showing off, being a real hothead, if you would.
And he actually buzzes by a trio of construction workers, one of which says, "It's the Human Torch, headed for the Fantastic Four skyscraper headquarters." And below on the street, a crowd is also watching, and many of them are exclaiming things such as, "The Torch, a living legend, and I thought I'd never see him with my own eyes." "We can't be certain, not from this distance. It may just be some natural phenomenon." "I've seen that natural phenomenon in action before, and his three partners, too." "It's kind of hard to make up your mind. You see these strange things, hear all those incredible stories." "It's mass hysteria, Pete. I could no more believe in the Fantastic Four than I could in flying saucers. The Human Torch, the Thing, Mr. Fantastic, the Invisible Girl, they're all creatures of the imagine. Hey, what?" But what suddenly happened, Shane?
Oh, they all lose their footing and start tumbling over into the ground because, one of the menaces to society decides to walk through invisibly.
Harry, something pushed us off. Something that brushed by us. Something we can't see. And Sue, in her invisible form, says, "Pardon me, gentlemen. I must get by." A voice out of the thin air. A girl's voice. Look, materializing before our very eyes. The invisible girl. She's one of the Fantastic Four. Imagine her being among us all this time without our knowing it. It's enough to give one the shivers. First the Human Torch and now her. Something's for sure. And Sue is running away from the crowd. And quite frankly, I can't blame her because she was honestly very rude.
She was very rude, and they do have. I mean, you would be probably afraid if there was an invisible person that could just pop up in your life at any moment in time. I understand the scaredness of it. And plus, generally when they show up, someone comes with them, like Doom or Mole Man or some. Usually, when they appear, nothing good's coming with them.
Disturbed by the uncertain mood of the crowd, the distaff member of the Fantastic Four hastens to the great skyscraper which houses their headquarters. The Torch has been scouting for signs of Doctor Doom. Wonder if he's brought back any news. And when did the Fantastic Four last encounter Doctor Doom?
Um, Number 5. It was last issue.
And if you're interested in checking out our deep dive into Fantastic Four Volume 1, Number 5, Prisoners of Doctor Doom, that was back in episode 13. So Sue enters the Baxter building and she encounters a mail courier who is fumbling with the elevator. This express elevator seems to be working, but not for me. I'll never get to deliver my telegram. Are you delivering any messages to the Fantastic Four, son? No, ma'am. Then I wouldn't advise waiting for this elevator, unless your belt has a hidden buckle like mine, which throws an invisible beam on the electric eye on that door. The elevator door. It opened, as if by magic. It's really very simple. She, she's one of the Fantastic Four. Hey, miss, wait, I have your autograph? The elevator door closes. Oh, too late. Meanwhile, the passengers in the elevators that ply the shafts of the skyscraper little realize that a thin wall divides them from the car that rises swiftly towards the mystery which lies above the 33rd floor. For it is on the 34th story that the world of the ordinary vanishes and the well-organized domain of the Fantastic Four begins. Here is the complete base of operations from which the war against the forces that would destroy man's freedom is waged with never-ending vigilance. And we once again get a diagram of the Baxter Building. This one is a little more substantial than the last time we saw it in issue 3.
Yeah, it is. It definitely has a lot more going on.
So, if anybody is interested in hearing what was listed in issue 3, that we covered back in episode number 4, which was the Menace of the Miracle Man. But Shane, you want to take us through some of the stuff which was added on to this diagram, particularly those bottom two floors?
So we have the living quarter and recreation room. We have the gymnasium on
Same floor.
same. Yeah, okay. Trophy room and weapon collection, ammo room because you got to have them separate. The chemical laboratory, electronics laboratory, computers. Why wouldn't they just be the same? And of course, I really like that we now have the rocket pipes to take the heat out the back of the building.
Yeah, that is a nice thing that might have been a little bit of an oversight on the previous diagram. Also, I think it may change later on. I can't wait to see if I'm correct in this assumption, but I think the laboratories actually end up moving up 2 floors, which to me makes a lot more sense considering the dangerous stuff that seems to be happening within those laboratories at any given time.
Oh, that's why it's important for that to be above the living quarters to be above them, so that absolute chaos can occur only in Reed Richards fashion.
Yeah, I'm wondering when we next see this if they'll have the door to the negative zone. That might be in the parking garage because we got to have it in the
Yeah, in a
most
place where anyone
convenient
can,
spot.
the place anyone can access it at any time whatsoever.
We turn the page. The invisible girl finally emerges in the recreation room. Torch, I was in the crowd that was watching your return. Have you? Nothing to report on Dr. Doom. He sure knows how to cover his tracks. Well, Ben, sitting on the couch, says, Sure. Who couldn't hide from a hot-headed teenager? I bet I could find him. Johnny and Reed are answering fan mail, and Sue says, Until we know what Dr. Doom is up to, none of us can feel safe. Don't worry, sis. Whatever he does, we'll be ready for him. In the meantime, we have a lot of mail to catch up with. Here's another letter from that little boy who's hospitalized. In fact, he's at Harmon General Hospital right across the street. This letter gives his floor and the location of his room. Say, won't he be tickled if I just drop in for a visit unexpectedly? It'll sure give him something to talk about with his fellow shut-ins. And Reed stretches his way from the recreation room window across the street to Harmon General Hospital and into the window of this sick boy. What? I I must be seeing things. But no, it's Mr. Fantastic in person. I thought you might like a chat, Tommy. Happily, the youngster bubbles over, throwing many questions at his famous guest. Well, the reason my costume stretches to any length that I do is that it's woven from chemical fibers containing unstable molecules that shift in structure when I effect the change. But the general public is made up of critics as well as friends, and there are challenges as well as questions. And Johnny, reading a letter, says, And if the thing will meet us on the corner of Ashby and Main Street, we'll knock that chip off his shoulder and make him like it. Signed, the Yancey Street Gang. I've heard from those mealy mouthed braggarts before. They get their kicks out of trying to rile me. Well, are you going to answer him, thing? You bet I will. The thing picks up a hunk of metal. This block is titanium steel, 6 inches thick and the strongest metal known to man. I'll just roll it by hand into a form acceptable for mail-in. I wouldn't want the Yancey gang to think I wasn't here. Send this to them. And on the day they manage to unroll it, I'll personally congratulate them. Phew. Bah. If I could only face an enemy worthy of my strength, a foe like Doctor Doom or Submariner. And when was the last time that the Fantastic Four encountered the Submariner?
In Fantastic Four #4.
And if you are interested in listening to that episode, you can check that out in episode 8, The Coming of the Submariner. I'll pick Doctor Doom for outright villainy. Submariner is hostile because he's hurt and bitter. What's the difference? If there's an ill wind blowing anywhere, one of those two has probably started it. Yes, an ill wind is blowing. It is not yet a cyclone, nor even a harsh gust. As yet, it is a general zephyr touching the placid waters of the ocean from which playful porpoise leap at the blue sky. And our scene shifts to where, Shane?
To the ocean, um, where we get to see a ship looking at the porpoises and Namor playing with the porpoises in the ocean.
And a passerby on the cruise liner says, Look, There's a whole school of porpoise keeping pace with the ship. And his companion says, What a lovely sight. They're like children at play. Children? The sunlight wasn't known to play tricks with one's vision. I'd swear that there was a man among those porpoises. And as the submariner dives up out of the water with these dolphins, he says, Now, my subjects, the next maneuver. Alas, it is one of those times when vision is accurate. But who could believe the most amazing of sights, Prince Namor, known to all submariner, and underneath the water, I'm not familiar with swimming terms. They're doing one of those rings made of the porpoises in the Submariner,
Yeah,
to
they
which
got some
Namor says,
nice synchronized swimming going on there.
There you go. Excellent. Well done. Meanwhile, high above the scene of innocent frolic, an evil presence hovers, searching the broad expanse of water with a baleful electronic eye. And who do we see at the controls of an airship, Shane?
We see none other than the back of Doctor Doom's head.
Ah, I finally found him. I knew my television scanner would pick him up at low-level focus. Now, Submariner, we have work to do. I'll buzz him at wave height. That'll attract his attention. And Doctor Doom's plane begins to dive towards Namor as he surfaces above the waves. Well, well, so a surface mortal dares invade the privacy of Prince Namor. And Namor dives back underwater and attempts to flank the airplane. Submariners vanish beneath the sea, but this arrow sub can trail him there too. I'll just surprise that curiosity seeker and give him more than he bargained for. And Namor comes bursting out from the waves into the sky. What? This ought to set him back on his heels. Hmm. His craft is of strange design. I wonder who he is. And Namor lands on the hull of the Arrow sub. And Doom says, I come in peace, Submariner. Our meeting has been inevitable and long delayed. Is that so? Come out where I can get a good look at you. And Doom, as implied, he steps out onto the hull of the aeroplane and he shakes the Submariner's hand. So you shall. Behold the face of your new ally, the one who shares your ambition, the punishment and total defeat of the Fantastic Four, and then of all mankind. That is strong talk, whoever you are. Never fear. I am strong, strong enough to join the powers of science to those of darkness. Show me the puny mortal who does not tremble at the name of Doctor Doom. And we turn the page to find part two, the Fantastic Four in When Super Menaces Unite. And what are we seeing here, Shane?
We're seeing that Arrow sub following Namor through the ocean back to what is somewhat known as Atlantis.
I do enjoy seeing Jack Kirby draw aquatic life. He's got whales, he's got various fish, he's got a squid. I think
Yeah,
there
he
might be
likes to
some
draw
coral in there.
creatures.
Eager for parley, Doctor Doom folds back the wings of his arrow sub and noses it into the depths of the sea as Submariner darts through the cold green shadows of his domain. They move across submerged canyons and valleys, over the ruins of a once proud city where a vanished race once lived in harmony. Ghost voice that once hailed Submariner as Prince Namor. Submariner finally leads Doctor Doom to his new quarters, a large dome villa in a field of swaying undersea vegetation. The airlock opens to admit them. Relaxing amid the comfort of Submariner's new home, Doctor Doom reveals his thoughts. And you want to go ahead and describe this pad that Namor's got going on?
Yeah, he has like a weird chair and some netting. I'm assuming he just took from the sea out of spite. A star table, which is wild, and a jellyfish in a globe. And of course, he has to have a picture of Sue because what pad wouldn't be acceptable without a picture of Sue?
It's a little creepy if you ask me, but
Overall, very colorful. It's very colorful and very befitting of Namor.
and he has apparently also provided Doom with a beverage of sorts. It would
Yeah,
appear that you've taken a holiday from your campaign against the surface world. Men no longer speak your name in fear. Then they are fools. My wrath can easily reawaken their fears. And Doom observes the picture of Sue Storm. Ah, the invisible girl. So she's the reason for your changed attitude. Of course. If you wage war against the Fantastic Four, you must be her enemy too. Take care. That female is no concern of yours. I am making it my concern, Submariner. It must be evident by this time that to defeat the Fantastic Four, it may take a diabolical duo, you and I, striking out for power and revenge. What has happened to your thirst for revenge? Have you forgotten the glistening towers of your once great civilization, the culture and comfort enjoyed by your happy subjects? Where are your people and their proud works? Imagine how they had to flee for their lives before the barbarians from the surface could conduct their underwater H-bomb test in this particular area. Fortunately, you were absent during the destruction, but the ruins testify to what must have happened. And your vanished subjects, will you ever again find them as you search the endless depths? And as Doom recounts all this, Namor has put his head in his hands solemnly. Imagine your great and proud people struggling for thousands of years, defeating all the terrors of the deep to build a civilization superb and beautiful. Yes, beautiful and glowing with life, until that last terrifying moment when that monster of a bomb lodged in the midst of that beauty. Gone. All that glorious history gone in one brief instant, replaced by an ugly crater in the ocean floor, littered with fused masonry and bitter memories that cry out, Revenge! Revenge! Revenge upon the surface world that did this in its ignorance. Revenge upon humanity's defenders. Death to the Fantastic Four. And Namor lifts his hands from his head with angry resolve. I, I cannot harm the girl, but I will aid you in defeating the others. And Doom holds out a small device to Namor. And what does it look like here?
it ironically looks like a red lightsaber to me.
Okay. For those of our fans, and there's probably very few of them that don't know what a lightsaber looks like, go ahead and take us through that.
It's a red cylinder with like a little button at the top. Um, and then there's a device controlling it also that is Doom's hands that has like a little switch and it looks like a meter on the bottom, probably to tell it what it can do. I'm not 100% positive what its like main goal is.
It
He
might be
calls
an
it a
amperage,
grabber.
it might be an amperage meter that shows how much power it's putting out.
No, I meant like the whole goal of it. It's like he calls it like a grabber or something like that, but it's really weird. It's just a weird design that you'd only see from Dune.
Or Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Very well, then. I agree. But before I tell you of my plan, let me demonstrate the power of my magnetic brain, children. I call this cylinder a grabber. At a touch of this control knob, I can launch it in any direction. Observe. and the cylinder piece of the grabber goes flying from Namor's underwater villa and across the ocean. Traveling on its magnetic beam, the grabber swiftly, tirelessly covers vast distances of the undersea kingdom. As if it had a will of its own, the grabber zeroes in on the head of a huge pagan idol, mired for centuries in the ooze of the sea bottom. The huge mass begins to stir, trembling in the pull of titanic unseen force. Slowly, it is lifted from the strong grip of its age-old prison. Then, with one sudden frightful yank, the mammoth idol's head breaks free and drifts like a feather on the magnetic current traveled by the grabber. And the head is pulled into view of the villa, wherein Doom says, "There. When I release this knob, my grabber brings back its catch, no matter how heavy or how large. Some catch. That idol's head must weigh countless tons. You mean that little cylinder was able to lift all that? Magnetic force is unlimited. When amplified, it has the strength of giants. All that power is locked in this small cylinder. Now I shall dismantle the grabber. You will be able to hide its tiny parts in the hollows of your belt buckle." Shane, what can you hide in the hollows of your belt buckle?
Well, nothing, because I my belt buckle doesn't have any hollows. I don't have a utility belt. Do you have a utility belt?
I do have a utility belt because I'm a class player, but none of the belts I have buckles that have hollows in them.
I have one belt buckle. Do you actually own a belt buckle?
No, I don't.
So I have absolutely have one belt buckle, and it is a giant. It is basically a pauldron. It's a Boba Fett pauldron. That's belt buckle.
Interesting.
I'm sure that really surprises you.
Hmm, not really. So Namor puts the pieces in the hollows of his belt buckle. Done. I take it that I am to reassemble the grabber at some point in your plan, when you're ready to release its incredible power. Yes. When you come face to face with our enemies, the Fantastic Four. Now listen closely. Soon after, above the ocean's surface, a passenger jet is coming by as Namor bursts from the waves. Look, below us. Something's been shot out of the water. Holy Hannah, check our course. We may have drifted into an area where our subs are testing Polaris missiles. That's a terrible flight plan.
Yeah.
Namor actually starts heading directly for the cockpit of this plane. Yow! That missile's coming right for us. No time to dodge. It's going to hit head on. Wait, that's not a missile. It's. And Namor quickly zooms upward to avoid collision. Bah, that's enough horseplay. I mustn't forget my mission. The pilots are exasperated. Tell me what we saw wasn't true. That couldn't have been real. I'm sure not going to write it in our logbook. Nobody would believe us. Submariner wastes little time. He becomes a meteor, a lightning bolt, a streak across the midday sky, speeding towards the coastline of America. And on what I would assume is the ferry to Ellis Island or Liberty Island, we have a photographer say, "A ferry boat will make a great snapshot, Matilda. Just the kind of memento to remind us of our visit to the big city." But his companion has seen Namor and tries to get his attention with a Hiram. A moment later, in the city itself, once again, the crowd on the street has been taking notice of unusual activities, this time with Namor walking amongst their persons. What's all that commotion? Wow, look who's coming up the street. Oh my. Fearless, calm, fully aware of his great powers, Submariner confidently makes his way through the uneasy, staring crowds. No fooling! It's Submariner! No fooling. It's Submariner, I tell you. He looks just like he does in the stories I've read. Why is he here? What's he up to? He don't look so tough to me. Stand aside. I frown upon any interference from mere mortals. Get him. He acts like he owns the town. The Fantastic Four will take him down a peg. Just wait till they find out he's here. Say, do you think he's come for a showdown? Submariner ignores the varied emotions he stirs among the populace. Even the appearance of the police disturbs him little as he continues on his way. And the officers converse among themselves. It's Submariner. We can turn him in for creating a disturbance. Easy. Don't borrow trouble before it starts. We'll alert the entire force in case we have to take him. But the tension ever present during the rare appearances of the Sea Lords seemed to blanket the city. It seeps into corners and crevices, reaching everywhere, even into the headquarters of the Fantastic Four. And what do we see in this final panel, Shane?
We just see some blue eyes staring into a black hole because you can see that it's like reflect. You can see the light on the outside of the room, and I'm just staring at the shot.
And a hand is reaching into that slot. Hey, what's glistening behind this shelf of books? And when we turn the page, we see that Johnny Storm is at the bookshelf as his sister Susan enters the room. Torch, what are you doing? Why are you poking among those books? I saw something hidden behind them, a glossy photograph. And he holds out a picture of Namor. So we've got a little mutual creepy admiration society going on here.
This is that adulterous lust that Doom speaks of.
Sure is. She's not married at this point, though. It's just a crush. I suppose you know the identity of the face in this photo. I do. Now give me that portrait. It belongs to me. So, you've gone soft on Submariner, our archenemy. Well, I'll tear this into 1,000 pieces before. Hey, Sue, where are you? Turning invisible won't get you this photo. And Sue attempts to grab the photo from behind Johnny. Give me that photo, you insolent brat. No, you don't. I figured you'd try to sneak up behind me. And the commotion draws the attention of both Reed and Ben into the room. What's going on here, you two? Nothing much. I'm burning a picture, a photo of Submariner. You've got no right to do that. It was my property, do you hear? Bah, I knew it. All a gal wants is a good-looking guy. Doesn't matter if he's the most dangerous creep on Earth. I think you owe us an explanation, Sue. Oh, how can I explain something that I don't understand myself? I know Submariner's hostile to us, but... And in that same instant, but there is still something about him, something genuine. Oh! Who burst into the room, Shane?
None other but Namor himself.
Submariner! How'd you get here? Flying through a window is no problem to Prince Namor. We turn the page and we start part 3, Fantastic Four in When Friends Fall Out. And what are we seeing in this opening half-page splash?
We have Reed wrapped around Ben so he doesn't do anything, absolutely silly. And Johnny kind of hiding behind the two of them. And then Sue uh trying to make Namor and them understand by gently caressing his shoulder.
And Reed says, Wait, we've got to keep our tempers. Let him speak his piece. I won't give him the chance. I'll pulverize that human fish into dry dust. Let me at him. No, if Submariner meant us harm, he wouldn't have walked in among us this way. The girl is right. My mission is one of peace. Well, I don't believe him. Stand away from him, Sue. I'll see that he doesn't escape us again. And Johnny flames on and begins encircling Namor. A circle of flame. No, no, you can't do this. You must hear him out. Why, he's not even trying to defend himself. He is too angry to listen to reason. You'd best stay out of the way. I do not fear the torch. And Namor shoves Sue aside. Wait! Prince Namor fears nothing on this planet. Let him do his worst. And Johnny begins to aim his flame at the floor beneath Namor's feet. We'll see how brave you are, Mr. Big Talk. I think I'll soften up your steel nerves before I really go to work on you. The human torch burns a circle of fire into the floor around Submariner. When it's completed, just the kind of childish prank I'd expect from you. You won't think so in 1 second. Suddenly, the floor gives way beneath Submariner's feet as the flaming circle falls into the room below. But Namor doesn't fall with it, as the wings on his ankles prevent him from doing so. Well, you can see I did not fall through. You forgot I have the power to defy gravity. But unlike you, my power does not fade, even as your flame begins to fade now. And indeed, before the human torch can act, his white-hot flame loses its consistency and begins to cool, until... My flame has run its time limit. I'm changing back to human form. I've failed. Failed. And Reed says, Fate has given you a reprieve, Submariner. Now speak, or give battle. I've come to seek your trust. You see, mine is a lonely kingdom, and a lasting friendship may prove more value than any fleeting taste of revenge. Very impressive, Submariner. Only I'm not inclined to shake your hand too readily. How do we know it's not a plot? How do we know you haven't set a trap? Yeah, you better do some fast checking, pal. I'll keep an eye on him. Oh, please, listen to him. Can't you see he's sincere? And Reed and Johnny begin rushing down the halls, starting to look for traps. I'm still for checking. Come on, Torch. We can look in on every room by closed circuit television. We can find out soon enough if he's setting traps in here. And we get TV screens at the lobby, the missile launch area, the conference room, the chemistry lab, the electronics lab, the map study, the observatory. I mean, it really just goes to double down on that whole diagram we saw earlier, Shane.
Hmm. It also goes to show that he was the first person to be real cautious about his security.
It's very thorough. Projection room, all clear. Roof landing strip, right corner, all clear. I don't get it. We've scanned every corner of our base of operations without finding one booby trap. Nothing seems amiss, yet I can't get rid of the feeling that Submariner's been up to no good. Luckily, the working day is over. The rest of the building is empty. We can check that out too. And Reed pops up on a monitor in the recreation area where Namor is being guarded by Ben. Well, my suspicious friend, does my presence here pass your rigid inspection? I'm not satisfied yet, Submariner. Stay where you are. I'm coming back to ask a few more questions. Well, you'll just have to wait for the time being. I'm on a holiday, and I've decided to take this charming young lady on a tour of the city. And he gestures towards Sue. Submariner's flippant mood suddenly vanishes as a loud tremor shakes the entire building. It makes a sound, Shane.
Crack.
Slowly, smoothly, the great skyscraper begins to rise free of its foundation, begins to rise above the now deserted streets. The building! It's rising into the air! We're going higher, faster! This is your doing, Submariner! You can stop this! I can't, you fools! I planted the trap, but it's been triggered by Doctor Doom! And it is a surreal sight watching the Baxter Building slowly rise into the sky.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool sight.
On our next page, we come to part 4, the Fantastic Four in Trapped. And man, what are we looking at here, Shane?
We are looking at the Baxter building that is well above this city and above the planes flying underneath it.
And we see Johnny, Reed, Nate, and Ben looking downward at how high they are from the city, while the Submariner is looking upward at Doctor Doom's aircraft, to which the Baxter building has been magnetically attached. It's a wonderful perspective shot, quite frankly.
It is definitely a wonderful shot.
We're now thousands of feet above the city and going higher. At this rate, we've only got minutes left before we reach the upper atmosphere. What is Doctor Doom to do with this Submariner? The double-crossing dog is in a rocket plane above, pulling the ship into space. But how? How is he doing it? There is a control panel in his plane attracting a magnetic grabber which I planted in a dark corner of the basement. And our only hope of ever getting down is to seize control of that plane. The air is getting mighty thin. We'll perish from lack of oxygen before we can take any action. Meanwhile, Doctor Doom draws his victims into the ionosphere and closer to the twilight edge of space. The windows in our portion of the building are strong enough to hold in the air remaining to us for a short while, Reed says from the Baxter building, while Doom in his rocket plane. Who can doubt the genius of Doctor Doom now? My plan is working without a hitch. I've managed to snare the only beings capable of blocking my ambition to rule the entire world. Submariner never guessed he was included in that group. Now he's as helpless as the rest of them. But in the building caught by magnetic currents, our orbit plane, it was toppled and damaged when the building shifted. Our one sure hope of overtaking Doctor Doom. Gone. We've still got our powers to rely on. But first, let's break out our stock of space helmets and oxygen tanks. Hurry! And Sue has gone limp at Reed's arms as Namor affixes one of the space helmets to her. Poor girl. She almost passed out from lack of air. This will bring her around. Johnny, now wearing a helmet and an oxygen tank, goes towards the window and begins to flame on. Our costumes are made to withstand the extreme conditions of space. The bodies of the Thing and Submariner can also resist those conditions, so I think it's safe to open this window and make an attempt to reach Doctor Doom. Flame on! But what happens when Johnny exits the building, Shane?
Oh, his flame instantly flames off. He wasn't thinking about the lack of oxygen in space.
My flame! It burned up for a moment and then suddenly snuffed out. I forgot. There's no oxygen in space to feed it. And as Johnny careens back towards the Earth, which would be quite a fall, Reed actually manages to reach out and, with his elasticity, grab Johnny. Without his flame, the torch can't fly. Luckily, my power can work in space. I cut him before he could fall back to Earth. And he pulls Johnny back through the window. Hey, what's wrong now? We've lost our footing. That ain't all we lost. There's no more gravity. We're weightless. And all the team is now floating about the recreation area. And Reed goes for the window as well. I'm going to make my try for Doctor Doom. You'll have to serve as an anchor thing. And Ben grabs Reed's legs. Okay, okay. Stop flapping your lips and move. And Reed begins to scale the building using his elasticity. So far, so good. When I reach the roof, I'll make my leap. Marshalling the full strength of his ability to stretch, the pliable structure of his body, Mr. Fantastic leaps across the wide gap of space toward the rocket ship. This isn't as easy as I thought it would be, but I've got to make it. Somehow conditions in space tend to weaken my powers, taxing myself to the limit. Almost. I'm almost within reach of Doom's ship. If I can just exert a little more effort. One of the ship's rockets suddenly sprouts a short, ineffectual burst of flame, but it's enough to make Mr. Fantastic recoil in pain. Ow! And Reed immediately snaps back to form and is assisted back inside by both Johnny and Ben. Reed, your hands! What happened up there? Doom must have tracked him by radar and fired a rocket burst. His burns ain't too bad, but he'll be out of action for a while. Just our luck. And they devise a cot out of parachute netting for Reed, and Sue bandages his hands. There, you'll be all right now. This parachute webbing will keep you from getting knocked about in the near zero gravity. Well, that leaves the problem of rescue up to me, and my strength is useless in this situation, except for one thing, Submariner. To finish you off for getting us into this fix. And Ben takes a swing at Namor. Stay clear of me, you big ugly lump. Not until I've settled with you for good. That'll be the day. The Battle of Titans is cut short by the voice of Doctor Doom. Greetings, my crusading friends. To those of you who are still alive to hear these words, I can tell you that we are near the close of this little journey. But before I part with your delightful company, I shall set your building on a collision course with the sun, which I am certain will receive you warmly, if you'll forgive my little jest. And the ship is dragging the Baxter building towards the sun. I guess that's it. We're done for. No, we're not. That jackal Doctor Doom still has Prince Namor to reckon with. Is there a water storage tank in the building? Yes, it's on this floor, Submariner, but I don't see what good that'll do. And Namor climbs a ladder and throws himself into the water storage tank. The words of resignation fall on deaf ears. Led to the compact water tank, Submariner plunges into its depths. Ah, this is more like home. I can feel myself growing stronger, stronger, doubling my power for the leap into space. I've taken tremendous leaps out of the ocean, further than any porpoise. Why should I not be able to do it now, when I dare not fail? And when he is ready. Don't do it, Submariner. I've tracked a meteor swarm heading this way. It means certain death. That meteor swarm is what I'm counting on to help me reach Doctor Doom. And now the word is, and the Submariner leaps out into space. Go! 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 On the next page, we hit part 5, The Fantastic Four, the end or the beginning. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at Namor launching off of like an asteroid or little rock chunk that's floating around Earth to get that little extra momentum to catch up to Doom.
As he is landing on the plane's hull, Namor says, It worked. I was able to leap from one passing meteor to the other until now. Now for the reckoning. But suddenly, at the flip of a control lever from inside the amazing ship, an all-powerful band of magnetism pins Prince Namor to the steel hull of the cabin. Ugh! Can't move. Unable to rise, Submariner's powerful fists exert tremendous pressure on the fuselage beneath him. This magnetic force may keep me from getting up, but it can't stop me from going down. The thick metal buckles and groans until Submariner's arms crash through into the ship's interior. When the air rushes out, the hull beneath Submariner collapses and carries him down with it. So I have questions here, Shane.
Yes.
Because normally, when you do something like this, where the hull of something like a plane or a ship or whatnot is penetrated, there is massive decompression where everything rushes outward, and therefore I would think Namor would be blown into space.
Right.
Now, I'm sure
Um,
Stan was thinking this whole magnetism thing was going to suck him in, but if that's the case, he should be stuck to the floor, right?
he should be stuck to the floor, but he is technically stuck to the floor, the roof. So I'm assuming they thought that When it would open, he would just suck automatically to the next level, according to Stan. I'm just saying, like we're speculating here. Stan is he's one of a kind.
And Namor begins to wrench on the vault door to the cockpit. Now, if I can only break into the pilot's cabin before Doctor Doom makes his next move, I'm sure he knows I'm in the ship. Suddenly, 1,000 great hammer blows of electricity smash into the sea monarch, hurling him back into the darkness. It makes a sound, Shane.
You get a nice crack as the lightning strikes him.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the steel wall, Doctor Doom listens for sounds of movement. I don't hear a thing. That's the end of Submariner. His attempt to stop me was the last. Now all I have to do is push down this lever and break contact with the building. Slowly but surely it will spiral into the sun, taking with it the rest of my enemies. But what happens, Shane?
He gets shocked while he's trying to do his go to set his lever.
Ah! I can't touch anything. The whole cabin is charged with electricity. And here's the rest of it. Full blast. You didn't kill me with that electric charge. Like an electric eel, I absorbed it, stored it, and now I'm returning it. And Namor is funneling electricity through the cabin door into the cockpit.
Yeah.
Ah! Got to get out of here before I. Doctor Doom flings open a floor escape hatch. The outrushing air literally explodes him away from the ship and into the vast cold reaches of space. His high rate of speed carries him into the course taken by the meteor swarm. Instinctively, he reaches out for support and frantically clutches a speeding meteor. The rocky space wanderer streaks onward, unmindful of its human rider, unmindful of the loneliness of its never-ending journey. For eternity is a long, long time, and Doctor Doom, who has coveted all of the earth, now has all of eternity to scheme in a much larger domain, the universe itself. While back on Earth, the hour is late, the dark streets deserted on Skyscraper Row, and the stray individuals who later witnessed the silent return of the Baxter Building from the skies write it off as a bad dream, an hallucination resulting from the anxieties that plague our nuclear society. But to the Fantastic Four, the sight of the city is a miracle greater than their incredible experience. We're we're home! Home! The Submariner in Doctor Doom's spaceship has guided the building back to the Foundation. Thanks to him, we're alive. How do you think an enemy? Submariner's somewhere above us in that confounded ship, and if I could reach him, I still don't know if I'd shake his hand or try to smash him. Oh, he isn't our enemy. I just know it. He's so full of pain and bitterness that it blinds his better instincts. Submariner needs time. Time to heal. At that moment, Johnny comes flying into the room. I found it! I found that grabber gadget just where Submariner said he planted it. We'd better remove it. It's dangerous as long as it remains active. Yeah, it's like living with a live bomb. And soon after, in the building basement, there it is, conceived by Doctor Doom and delivered by a misguided Prince Namor. And the cylinder is attached to the ceiling. You mean that thing? That thing lifted the entire building? It's no bigger than a tin can. And Ben tries to pry it off, but still finds himself instead doing what looks to be like chin ups. And when Johnny tries to help him, he too is carried into the air. Ugh, talk about power. We can't budge this thing. You forget that it harnesses the strength of a titanic natural force. Dr. Doom was an evil genius, but a genius nevertheless. What a tragedy that his great mental abilities produce such miracles for sinister purposes. As for Submariner, who knows what his future holds for him? And what happens, Shane?
Uh, Namor calls the cylinder back to where it once came.
Look out! It's too late to stop it. The gadget detached itself. It's flying away. As if possessed by a will of its own, the grabber streaks across the city with the speed of light until it's lost to the sight over the ocean. Sometime later, in a remote latitude, the cylinder homes in on the spaceship piloted by Submariner. When it is inside the ship, Prince Namor sends the vehicle into a spin and hurtles from it. The sea will make a fit resting place for the works of Doctor Doom. They will lie where they can no longer do further harm. So shall I return to the sea, perhaps someday when I am no longer haunted by the bitter memories of my lost people, I may return. But until then, this is where I belong, in the sea which is my home. Next issue, don't miss the most startling Fantastic Four adventure of all. Watch for it. The end. All right, Shane. Well, what did you think of this adventure?
I did have a lot of fun with this one. I like when you got a little anytime someone tries to one up Doom. What about yourself?
I mean, this is a classic supervillain team up, and I mean, I think it's the first supervillain team up of the Marvel Universe, quite frankly. I know we haven't hit the point where Submariner has teamed up with the Hulk in the Avengers yet. Even though the Hulk I know is more of an anti-hero, so I mean, I think Luther had teamed up with maybe like Toyman and Prankster or with the Joker before this over in DC Comics, but first of its kind for Marvel, really. Has some historical significance, and yeah, like you said, it's a fun time. You get the you start getting the trope of just terrible things happening to the Baxter building. So,
All
uh,
right, you ready to start our four things there, buddy?
absolutely. I think you go
Dang.
first this time. So go ahead, Shane. What was your favorite panel?
My favorite panel was page 3, panel 5.
Oh, so you're going with the diagram again?
Of course. Anytime there's a diagram, the answer is diagram. It was hard though, it was between the diagram and the amazing amount of elevators this one building holds. Just the sheer number of elevators is amazing for one building.
I mean, I can understand that. Um, that there are, there's at least an express elevator and four regular elevators at the very least. It is a New York skyscraper, though I would think you would have like two on one side and maybe two on the other side instead of all of them being perpendicular. In fact, you know what? Maybe there's nine elevators because maybe there's four on one side, four on the other, and the express elevator to the Fantastic Four headquarters.
What's your panel, buddy?
So my favorite panel is actually page 16, panel 1, that half page splash.
That was my runner up.
Yeah, that is just an incredible perspective shot of the Baxter Building being lifted high above Manhattan. And it does its job so well that it makes me queasy. I have this weird thing with heights, like I can ride roller coasters and do things like that, but if you put me in like even like with a harness, like if you put me on like a lift at work and I'm like slowly swaying back and forth, that bothers me. So this engenders those same feelings, and yeah, it's just incredibly well drawn. I do like the planes for perspective. I kind of wonder why they're all flying in that formation. Like to me, that's like an army training exercise or uh, an Air Force training exercise. But why would they be doing that directly over Manhattan? I don't know. Doesn't take much away from it though. Still incredibly done.
Yeah. I just thought the perspective was awesome and they did a great job of showing like just how small Manhattan looked while this was terribly high in the sky.
Absolutely. So well done, Jack Kirby. So we're gonna move along to This Age Poorly. And my choice for what aged most poorly in this issue was page 14, panel 8, where Reed and Ben are suspicious of Namor's intentions and thinking that he may have set traps around the building. Sue says, "Oh, please listen to him. Can't you see he's sincere?" She is way too naive here. It's unrealistic, and the writing just kind of reeks of male chauvinism with the whole having her play the dumb female role in this story. Blinded by
I
attraction,
mean,
and I hate it.
it does go both ways though,
How so?
because he's also doesn't want to harm her, so he's also blinded by attraction.
Right, I understand that much, but I mean, as Sue develops, she is a presented as a much more intelligent person than this. Um, like she wants to give Namor the benefit of the doubt, but given on their prior interactions with Namor, she should at least have thoughts that maybe he should be. I'll say verified because I mean, obviously she's already been checking him out, but
I mean, he's there. He doesn't. It's all there. He wears his skivvies skin tight, buddy.
yeah. Anyway, what was your choice for this age poorly this week?
Um, I had 12-2 and 8-2.
Oh, if you're gonna pick one,
It's a mutual thing of their admiration for each other.
I mean, Namor still holds that to this day.
Yeah, there's that, which I still don't like because I would hope that he would get over it by now. And then her just having this 8 by 10 glossy photo picture. Sorry, that's a reference to a song that you might not know, but
Oh, what song?
it's
And by whom?
Alice's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie.
Okay.
It is an interesting, it's just an interesting thing. And then the whole thing that stems from it down to Johnny just lighting it on fire because that whole thing just aged poorly for me because they're like, well, Sue, you have some explaining to do, not Johnny, you have explaining to do just for lighting her personal property on fire.
Okay. I just did some quick research, and this issue actually predates Alice's Restaurant.
Oh, I'm sure it predates Alice's Restaurant. I'm just talking about the
The
glossy photo picture thing. It's just a reference in the song.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the Fantastic Four. It has everything to do with Thanksgiving.
So, what was your page turner moment for this issue?
I went with the page of 11:5. The
So, Johnny
eyes.
reaching for the book, or Johnny reaching
Johnny
through the books for the photograph, rather.
Johnny reaching through the books for the photograph.
Why did this have you on the edge of your seat?
Because one, I wasn't. It didn't give you a really good idea of who it was at first in that little scene, and then two, you never know what's going to be there behind there because that could have been a spot where they put the device initially. That could have been a listening device from Doom. It could have been a listening device from Namor. You never know. There are all kinds of things that could have been placed behind those books
And
until
instead,
you
it's an
found
8
out
by
that,
10 glossy photo.
yeah. Needless to say, I was disappointed. It was the page turner moment for me. Just because it was like, when you're first reading it, you don't know what's going there, and then you get that. But what was yours, bud?
So, this is interesting. Normally, I keep it to a panel. This one, I didn't, though. It's actually 4 panels. So, mine is page 20, panels 4 through 7. Namor's space leap. Um, so when he does this, it's the whole action of the story has just been ramped up. They're heading towards the sun. There's the distance between themselves and doom. There's a meteor shower that Namor needs to work his way through. And when you initially think of it, you're thinking, oh, well, he's going to get hit by space rocks and thrown off into space. But the fact that, it ends up not being that, uh, how's he going to get into the spacecraft? But he ends up hopscotching across these meteors and powering his way in. And it's just, it does not disappoint, unlike your last choice. But no, this is just, everything just before the climactic actions of this story. And yeah, really had me on the edge of my seat the first time I read this.
Yeah, no, it does. It does do exactly what you said. I was trying to find an actual page this time because I'm very known for doing like through two panels into a page turner. So I was trying to find like just the one thing, and that's why I went with my panel I had. This was my runner up, but the go wasn't enough of a page turner. You kind of need that little build up into that.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's why I went with panels 4 through 7.
yeah, but yeah, great, great choice. So you got MVP, buddy.
Yeah, so MVP. I was really reluctant with this week, I'm not gonna lie. But I have to give it to Prince Namor. The reason that I was reluctant for it is because him being such a rube for Doom's scheme is what allows this entire thing to happen. But he does, exhibit quick thinking when the rest of the Fantastic Four's powers fail to defuse the situation, and he ultimately does save the day and return our fabulous foursome to safety. And then on top of that, he kind of takes a look at himself and returns to the ocean and kind of decides he's going to take some time to seek some solitary atonement for what he's done.
Yeah. I also had Namor for my MVP because it just seemed like it's the only one you can choose. Because one, he was the one that stopped the plane. Then two, when he got back to Earth, he brought the Baxter building back to Earth. He literally was the helper of this whole situation.
All right, so unanimous decision for MVP Prince Namor.
Though it did start from his silly agreeing to do something with Doom. But
Yeah, very true.
as we have known, or at least we're reading out of order anyway, but we just read a mini series where he did the same thing and then realized that he was dumb. Do you think he'd stop falling for these?
Poor naive Prince Namor. All right. Well, this story has been reprinted a number of times. The list is vast. I had to narrow it down to pick a selection, or else we'd probably be here for another hour talking about it. But aside from hunting around in the back issue bins for this exact issue, you could try to hunt around for Fantastic Four Annual number 3 from Volume 1, which was published in October 1965. Lancer Books did a collector's album of the Fantastic Four. The Volume 1 of those was published in 1966. Marvel Treasury Edition Volume 1, Number 2 from December 1974 also features this story. The Pocketbook series, Volume 1 of Fantastic Four, published in 1977, includes this story. And then we get to some of the usual suspects, like the Marvel Masterworks Volume 1 Fantastic Four from November of 1987, Essential Fantastic Four Volume 1 from November of 1998, Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1 from January of 2005. The reprint series from 2005, the December issue was Fantastic Four Adventures Volume 1, Number 6. There's the Fantastic Four Epic Collection Volume 1, World's Greatest Comic Magazine, published in April of 2021. Then there is also the Namor the Submariner Epic Collection Volume 1, Enter the Submariner from September of 2014. The Mighty Marvel Masterworks Fantastic Four Volume 1, World's Greatest Heroes from July of 2021. Now, here's an omnibus that you don't really get to talk about more than once, which is Marvel June 1962 Omnibus Volume 1, which was published
That's
in
wild.
June of 2022. It is also in the Doctor Doom, the Book of Doom Omnibus Volume 1 from August of 2022. We just had a facsimile edition released of Fantastic Four Volume 1, Number 6 on June 11th of 2025. And we also just had the Namor the Submariner Omnibus Volume 1 that was released on August 12th. So a little over a week ago, almost 2 weeks ago, as of this recording. So August 12th of 2025 was when that omnibus dropped. And upcoming, it'll also be in the Doctor Doom Epic Collection Volume 1 from November of
And
2025.
the and it'll be in the reprint omnibus also.
And of course, you can also find it on Marvel Unlimited. The story has one adaptation, Shane.
94 Fantastic Four show.
No, no, not at all. It actually has an adaptation in the Namor the Submariner segment of the Marvel Superheroes cartoon from 1966. Episode 12, over three different segments titled Doctor Doomsday, The Doomed Allegiance, and Tug of Death, which adapt a combination of this issue as well as Fantastic Four Annual number 3. The Fantastic Four, however, do not appear in it. They are instead substituted with the X-Men, who aren't even called the X-Men. They're referred to as the Allies for Peace. It's weird, but it all came down to the fact that the company that was producing the Marvel superheroes cartoon at the time, which was Grandry Lawrence, didn't have the rights to the Fantastic Four. Those were held by Hanna-Barbera for animation, so they had to substitute in the X-Men. Sir, are you interested in hearing what we are covering next week?
Yeah.
You should be very excited because next week is the final issue of the Grant Morrison and Jay Lee Fantastic Four 1, 2, 3, 4 miniseries. We're going to wrap it up appropriately with issue number 4. I'm really
When that
interested to
fe
hear what you think of this as a whole once we're done with it.
when this fever dream ends, I'll be so excited.
I doubt that. You never sound excited, Shane. Never ever.
I never sound excited. This is my excited voice. What are you talking about? I think people do think that I don't have excitement. This is about as exciting as I get right here.
It's like Eeyore. As always, just like to remind our listeners that your feedback is very important to us. We would highly appreciate it if you left us a 5-star review on Apple or a comment or review on Spotify. You can subscribe to us on your preferred listening platform so we show up in your feed each and every week. We are on Facebook at the Fantastic Four Fancast, where we encourage you to engage in FF related discussions and share Fantastic Four content. There are group rules. We want you to follow those. But most important one for us is that you are respectful of your fellow group members. Shane, we're currently sitting at 129 members in that group right now. Uh, would have been more, but I had to
Nice.
clean out some spam accounts, people who want to pretend to be Joseph Quinn or Pedro Pascal, or weirdly enough, we had a David Corn set in there and they put up a post about Superman content, and I ended up just removing all of that as well because that's not what the group's for. So
Yeah, I had to hit a Pedro thing. It was like one of the nights where I was up at 1:30 in the morning and they it was like, will you approve these? And it was like 9 posts in a row at like 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, yeah, no one's posting that fast besides a bot.
exactly. So, but since we have 129 members, you and I definitely need to get some engagement polls going and discuss some episodes we can do with some audience input here in short order. And those will probably be more towards the end of the year when we start doing those. But we need to at least get the ideas going and, you know, watch that space. You can have a say in what we cover here. You can also follow us on Instagram at Fan4Fancast. That is FAN, the number 4, FANCAST. And finally, you can contact us by email at fan4fancast@gmail.com. Again, that is FAN, the number 4, FANCAST@gmail.com. And yeah, feel free to reach out to us with feedback, any questions. Those we will most likely read on the air, unless, of course, you don't want us to. If that is the case, please specify. Even if you have ideas for episodes or content that you would like to see, we would love to hear it. Do you have any final thoughts on this week's issue, Shane, before we go ahead and wrap up?
I think we covered it all. We both enjoyed it. It's a fun little one. I recommend going to read it.
Yeah, because as much as we like to do the audio dramatization on here, we don't do justice to the book itself. So please seek it out and read it for yourselves. Hopefully, what we do here makes you want to seek out these issues and read them.
At least check out the art because like a lot of the art in most of these books is beautiful, and the Kirby art is always beautiful.
It sure is. He wasn't the king for nothing. Well, until next week, I've been Nate Charles and he is Shane Murray, and we hope we will see you once again. Until that time comes, stay fantastic.